Hi, everyone. I'm Emily.
And this is Eva.
And you're listening to Speech Talk.
We're your research book club so you can do evidence-based practice in practice.
So let's start talking. You have to tell me about your fun week.
Oh, right. Fun weeks. Oh my gosh. I have been using chat in my sessions a lot. It's funny because we were just talking about
the evil water-sucking chat GPT.
But it's like so incredible as my like sidekick buddy clinician. And I've been trying to do a lot more kind of vocational based stuff in my sessions. But the thing is, I don't know a lot about what my patient's work is like. Like I got a patient who's a CPA. I'm scared of doing my own taxes, much less knowing how to do somebody else's. So I've been, using chat to ask higher level cognitive questions and activity creation, and it just spits me out stuff. And I try it out with my patients, and they've been super into it, and that's been really cool that I can kind of jump into this aspect of providing a structured way for them to re-engage with their work while also targeting their goals. I think for them, it feels so applicable. And that's awesome. But I literally couldn't do without chat. I went to my patient and I was like, I'm going to ask you some questions that a CPA would know. You have to tell me if they make sense because I don't even understand these questions.
That's funny. And that also like probably saves you so much time. So you're not like researching.
Yes, it really, 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 really does.
That's funny too, because I found something similar to that on Teachers Pay Teachers, where it was like forms to practice filling out your taxes. And all of my clients don't pay taxes because they're so old. Like they just don't, like they have no, and they're like, why would I pay taxes? I was like, that's fair. I'll just file this away. Maybe one day. Like
I do love those pre-made forms though. Oh, so good. You're like, I really needed an applicable worksheet. Thank you, whoever you are.
Yeah. Yeah, whoever spends their time making stuff on Teachers Pay Teachers, I see you and I appreciate your work.
How about you, Ems? What you been doing?
So this week my student has started.
Oh yeah.
And so nice. She is so nice. So I'm kind of like setting up a session and like giving it to my student and like trying to walk away while also like putting both hands over my mouth and like trying not to overstep on her because they're like my clients still and I want to be helpful, but I want to give her like space to do and grow. And so it's like I had to like sit on my hands. It's like
oh, you're like a mama hen. I love that.
I'm a little over controlling. And I'm like always checking. I'm like, how was that? Do you feel okay? Like, do you need me? I'm over here.
Oh, that's the sweetest dang thing.
So, but unfortunately, she got the flu. So she had to take a week. It's like week 1. And she left after 3 days, got the flu and had to be out for a week. So she'll come back tomorrow.
It's all a part of the sniff learning curve. You're like, your immune system will adapt.
And it was funny too, because one of my coworkers was like, well, it's good she got it out of her way now because she'll never have a day off again. You have to make that shit up on Saturday.
For reals. Let's pause here for a second. We'll come back right after the break.
You know you need fiber for a healthy gut, but do you actually know how to get it? Quaker's been serving up fiber since 1877, with over 100 great-tasting, good source of fiber options to choose from. Whether you like old-fashioned oats, instant oatmeal, granola, or oatmeal squares, Quaker makes it delicious. So good. Get your fiber with Quaker. Shop Quaker's good source of fiber products at a store near you.
Good sleep is everything. That's why Ollie's Science Bag Support is made with a blend of melatonin and L-theanine for both kiddos and grown-ups. So when your mind won't switch off, you've got something that can help. Your racing thoughts and restless nights won't stand a chance. Find Ollie Sleep Solutions for the whole family at ollie.com. That's OLLY.com.
To the article. What are we talking about this week?
We're talking about research and access to research, paying for research and not paying for research. Is that a good summary? Did I nail it?
Yes. Yeah. And I really think that the article we chose this week nicely sums up one big reason we started this podcast was that research just feels very inaccessible, because it is. Quite literally, so much resource is hidden behind a paywall, and we're missing out on information because we're being asked to pay for things we need to be able to know to do our practice. So I don't know.
It's not just paying. Like, honestly, I'd pay $1 or $2 to read a research article. I'm like, you did the research. Like, that's your job. Like, I'll pay. But it's like, would you like to pay $24 for 24 hours? And I'm like, I sleep for 8 of those hours and work 8 of those hours. So really, I have access to it for 8 hours, during which I'm also doing other stuff. So like, no, I'm not paying $1 an hour for research. Hell to the no. So not to just break into event, but
No, and I like that money doesn't even go to the researchers. Like I would prefer to pay the researcher for their time and energy, but no, we pay publishers for hosting the article. And then the author pays the publisher for posting their articles. So the publisher gets
that really got
doubly money from all of us just to exist.
We will get into that in just a minute, but yeah, bookmark that. That's hilarious.
So, according to the American Speech Language Hearing Association, evidence-based practice includes the integration of clinical expertise, clinical perspectives, and evidence that includes research. Clinicians are expected to stay up to date with evidence from the research literature, but in a recent survey found that the second most reported barrier by speech-language pathologists to engaging in evidence-based practice is the lack of access to information. That's a huge problem. How are we expected? We are expected.
I love that you're like putting words in bold and underlining them, although they are not bold or underlined in this text. It's all in the voice.
All in the voice. But we are expected to stay up to date with these, but we can't have them. We're made to use them, but like, nope, can't read it unless you pay me. I don't know. It's this whole article is a vent session for me. Clearly, Eva.
Emily's like, I am in a toxic cycle. Yeah. So our article is titled "The Effect of Open Access on Scholarly and Societal Metrics of Impact in the ASHA Journals" by Helen Long, Lee Drown, and Miriam El-Amin.
So this article looked at the different levels of access for research. We're talking about open access, where the article calls that OA, where we're talking about articles that are freely available without a subscription.
Yeah. So I think like part of the goal of open access is kind of hypothesized to increase readership, citations, and public attention. The article is the first to examine that within the communication sciences field.
This article looked at open access and how different types of open access articles are viewed, downloaded, cited, and if their availability impacts the amount of article that was used.
So, how are we looking at impact? We're looking at scholarly impact, so that's measured by citation count, and societal impact, that's measured by something called altmetrics, which is, we'll get into the definitions in just a second. They looked at these metrics for articles published in ASHA Journals. Turns out there's more than one ASHA journal, and I didn't know that. Anyways, here are the different open access levels. Emily, get us started.
So first we have gold, meaning the article is fully open to the public on the publisher's site, often with the article processing fee pay by authors.
That's the funny part. They pay for the privilege to have it published.
Yeah, it is the crazy part. I looked it up too. It costs $2,000 to put a paper on ASHA for open access.
Oh, wow.
So, yeah, if you have an article and you're reading it and it's beautiful in ASHA, send an extra thank you to those authors for $2,000 to put that on there.
So the next one is green, is the level green open access. It's defined as the open access route in which authors share an accepted version of the peer-reviewed manuscript online in an open repository. So think about websites like PubMed. The copyright is retained by the publisher.
And then finally, we have closed access. This is the one that is the most bothersome. The article is behind a subscription or a paywall. So, example, closed access manuscripts published in the ASHA Journals are openly accessible to ASHA members, but require a pay-per-view charge for non-members to access, or if it's in a special interest group. And those specific restrictions apply.
Yeah, man, I get so mad whenever I'm like trying to read stuff on ASHA and I click the get access button for my membership and then it's like, nope, special interest group. I'm like, boo. So that kind of wraps up all the different levels of access.
The researchers then tally all the articles in the 4 CSD journals. And I really want you guys to look at this chart, and not just because I'm such a sucker for a good chart.
You are every time. You're like, this article's chart. My God. Girl can't get enough of a chart.
I know, it really is. It's a problem. But this chart, it's laughable how many articles are posted by ASHA for the purposes of people in the CSD world, and we can't get them without the paywall. So within the 4 groups, there was a total of 3,419 articles, and 1,900 of them were closed access. So
what, roughly half? So the article starts out with listing these 3 different publishing access methods. There's gold access, green access, and closed access. But what is the effect of those different types of access? Well, this is where we get into how they are looking at citation count and alt metrics. So the citation count is, again, that scholarly aspect. This is how we're seeing research influencing other research. When an article is cited in more research, it gets tallied as a citation. So it's like, how many likes essentially does an article have by other researchers?
Yeah. And for the green open access, it receives 69% more citations than fully paywalled manuscripts and 49% more citations than papers archived in other repositories.
Yeah. So basically, it turns out if your stuff is free, more people will read it.
They did say with a caveat that most colleges or academia tend to have access to these anyways, which I don't know if you remember Gina from school, but she worked at one of the research centers at NYU, and anytime we needed a research article, she'd be like, here you go. Why do you have that? It was just a perk of my job.
Got to be institution affiliated.
Yeah. This article also shows almost like a stair stepper of increased access across each open access, with closed being the lowest, green a little more, and gold a little more than that. So the more access people can have to it, the more it's used, which makes sense.
Yeah. And honestly, that goes the same for the alt metrics. So alt metrics are how they're looking at social impact. It's uses on Wikipedia, social media. How much are people talking about it in a visible way, basically online? The research mentions that this is an increasingly popular way to look at social impact of information, like essentially how much is information trending. And this is where the gold open access just whoosh, like soared, because if it's free, then everyone is looking at it.
And I think that's important, right? Like, while our field is, very structured in that, you need our clinical brains, just to have more people able to look something up and confer and ask their own questions about it. Like, it helps people come into your sessions with more knowledge base. Everybody loves knowledge, right?
Yeah. And I mean, I like the premise of this that if everybody can get access to information, that we all have more information, equal access to information, la, 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 la. But I think there's like a little bit of a con here that we need to address, which is that just because something's popular doesn't mean it's quality. Emily and I have read a lot of research together over the last year, and not all of it feels like good research. There's plenty of articles we've looked at and then decided not to review because we were like, I don't know, that seemed really shaky, or the methods section is trash, or the outcomes don't seem well reflected. There's a lot of reasons why research isn't necessarily good quality research, but that doesn't necessarily mean it's not going to be popular. You can produce something that people are like, oh my God, I super resonate with this. Oh my God, look at the stats that they're showing. This is so impactful. And then you look at what is being shared and you're like, oh yeah, but that's really bad research. So while I think the alt metrics are important because it's showing social impact of research, beyond just the kind of academic sphere, which people can get really jargony and technical about and can be such an isolated world. But we also got to keep an eye out. Just because something is popular, don't mean it's good.
That is true. A lot of people, myself included, can get very swayed with some convincing words. Eva, that's why I need you to be my partner in this, because you go back through and you're like, wait a second, Emily, this sucks. And I'm like, oh yeah? Okay. I believe you.
Just think about like the rhetoric around one of our more recent episodes on thickened liquids. Like the internet, the CSD internet was on fire with whether or not thickened liquids should be as widely prescribed as they are, and if they're harmful, are they beneficial? And everyone has research to cite in their favor, So just getting into really good quality research is also important, and that's not always easily digestible over TikTok. Sorry to throw you under the bus, TikTok.
So public impact is especially important for health-related research areas and disciplines that directly aim to support the well-being of the community.
Yeah, I think that's such an important grounding quote. The whole goal is to benefit the well-being of the community, right? Why are we producing research? To better understand problems. Why are we reading research? So that we can apply it in the clinical space. So understanding this relationship between producing research and reading it is important because ultimately that's the dynamic between creating information and applying it.
Mm-hmm.
Pause.
And Eva, you make such good points that I'm just like, yeah, that's a well-rounded thing to say. I have nothing. I have nothing to add. This is your podcast now.
This is your podcast now. Look at me. I am the captain now.
Wait a second. Is that another social reference? Is that another pop culture reference? We can't get too many on these. People might think that you're cool, Eva.
How wrong they'd be. I do have some just kind of topic prompts for us to discuss because this article, I think, in some ways is like a little bit dry or like reviewing levels of research access by tier and, how much they're being tracked online. But I want to go back kind of through and emphasize how is this affecting us. So here are just some fun conversational prompts that I pulled up on the side for you, Emily.
Okay, go.
One of the concerns when we're accessing information is, when is it written? Is it still relevant? So research behind paywalls might mean that people have access to older information if what they're reading is free stuff, right? So do we think that is kind of keeping the clinical world a few steps behind if we're not looking at what is potentially the most groundbreaking, most new research?
Oh, 100%. I feel like that is the biggest problem. Like even in school, right? We can't use an article or cite an article if it was older than 10 years. But like those are the majority of the free articles that are available is things that are older. But the field changes so quickly. So why are we only providing access to these older articles? It's just 100%. So then we go into the field or we're talking to our instructors about what they do, and they're like, oh, we might not actually do this anymore. Like, because they they have access to the articles. But 100%, without a doubt,
Yeah.
we are being hindered.
And I think you and I have definitely found some great research that was written like 20 years ago. And some of the stuff about dementia that is coming out now still backs up stuff that was written 10, 15 years ago. But I think overall, you're right. The field is shifting so much. We're finally gathering a lot of data. Just the tech boom that we're seeing right now is also generating a lot more opportunities for data collection. And if we can't get access to that, then we really are just keeping it in the 90s, bro, which, year 2000 was great. Y2K playlists are awesome, but that's not where we want our research to be.
Yeah, and if we're providing recommendations to our clients, we want to make sure that we are doing it with the most sound ear in mind. Like, we want to make sure that we are giving them the most updated information. And if that is like our expected obligation via our state licensing board, but then we have to pay out of pocket to make sure that we are living up to those expectations, but being paid pennies and being expected to be so productive. So now we're taking time out of our personal day to stay up to date on this research. And if the research isn't open, then we're looking for CEUs from the people who do have access to it. It's just so many hoops. It's so many hoops.
I think also one of the issues with paywall research, not again that I inherently have a problem with paying for research, it's just that it kind of keeps information concentrated. And so when the information is kind of living in research institutions, we don't want it to live there. It needs to be permeable. It needs to be making its way into the clinical space. It needs to be making its way into the CSD community, or really whatever field you're in. If you can't get access to the research you need, then what good is the research doing? And I think that kind of gets at that distinction between like the citation metric versus the alt metrics. The citation metric is that kind of in-group, in-community, in-research community popularity versus is the world reading it? And if the world isn't reading it, then like what impact is your research having? I think that's ultimately what researchers want too, right? Is to have their stuff be ingested and applied.
All right, Eva, what's your next question?
Who has information often determines who has influence. It's like, yeah, all right.
I mean, that one is vague, but that I feel like that is so true. Like, that
You're
is
like,
true.
I still like it.
I still like it because the people who have the information do have influence. Like, the fact that ASHA holds some of these things behind a paywall, the fact that we are then paying ASHA extra dollars for extra things, like, we are contributing to the bigness that is ASHA. So just contributing to their
the
their
bigness
power.
that is ASHA. Quote.
They're just like the overwhelmingness that is ASHA.
Yeah. Here's another kind of prompt. Do we think that the research we have access to shapes the kind of care patients receive?
I don't know. I that one's kind of mixed for me because for me, and you might have a different answer for this, Eva. I think the kind of care and intervention my clients receive is really based on my conversation with the client, like what kind of things that client responds to, etiologies behind what's actually going on with them, like what are their goals, like how well do they respond to certain prompts, whether it's like an intentional response or an innate response. If they just have a better learning with a certain motor principle, then that's kind of what we go with. So I think for me, it's good to have a decent understanding of multiple different methods or information about a wide range of different topics so I can use my clinical brain to pick and choose apart what I like or what I don't, or what'll be good and what isn't. But what do you think, Eva?
Well, just kind of reflect back what you're saying. It sounds like for you, a lot of what type of care patients receive has to do with the clinician themselves,
Mm.
with how they're interacting with patients, how they're engaging with their clinical knowledge and what they're seeing in patient presentation. And, there's also structural things to that point, like what a facility can offer, how many hours of therapy can they get access to, so I think it's a good point that there are just other features that shape patient care. But bringing it back to research, I mean, I think about the Fraser Free Water Protocol and how variedly see it implemented. Like working at the hospital, people are like, "Oh yeah, Fraser free, go for it. Get that guy a cup of water," And then in the sniff world, it's like, "Oh my god, but that guy one time coughed. We can't give him water." And I'm like, "Actually, you can.
Mm.
That's not inherently an issue. Dude could choke on his own saliva. So, I don't know why we're worried about water." And it just seems like sniffs a lot of times are operating on recommendations for, in particular, dysphagia recommendations that are no longer considered updated in the field. But the facility itself is like, no, 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 no. If we see a problem, we really don't want you to put them on regular food again. And I'm like, it's also a quality of life thing. They're going to keep trying to steal graham crackers if we don't let them have regular food sometimes, And what people think is best practice seems to vary widely. Somewhere that is backed up by research. Somewhere in how people came to decide policies for buildings and so on and so forth is based on research. But I don't think they know what research they believe they're talking about. Okay. Did we say everything we wanted to say?
I know this article I thought would take up a lot more time because this is really, I mean, truthfully, this is one of the reasons I wanted to do this podcast, because it really is like a thing that has like bugged me for so long that like I'll go to look up a research article and it'll sound really good and there's just the abstract. I'm like, what am I supposed to do with this? This is
Yeah.
no information. But that's all they give you, and it stinks. That's it.
Yeah.
That's the thought. It just
We're ending on an
stinks.
oh shucks feeling.
I know. Or then you're like looking for research and then you spend 3 hours looking for different rationale for the thing that you're trying to do or something you're trying to target, only to keep running into abstracts. And you're like, I can't base a treatment on an abstract. I need more.
You're like, it's kind of like when instead of watching a movie on Netflix, you just watch a bunch of trailers. And you're like, I guess I kind of watched a movie. You're like, I read a bunch of abstracts. I guess I read some research in aggregate.
Eva, you're so smart. I've never heard anyone say the word aggregate in like like an like pure
Like,
conversation.
stop actively studying for the SAT on air. It's disgusting.
Eva, you didn't say any like funny stories that have to do with like looking up research or being caught on research. Do you have any before we wrap it?
I think most of I'm really trying to get access to research stories are more sad because I feel like I really let someone down and that I needed to go do research. That's what I would say. It's like when Eva's trying to get research, usually guilt driven, anxiety driven, boredom driven. And then my ADD goes into full explosion mode, clicking links within research articles. And then I've got 10 research articles up and I read none of them.
And then your kid comes over and says, Mommy, why do you have 80 million tabs open? Close that.
My girl don't know what tabs are yet. She just thinks the computer is a vehicle for Bluey. Shout out to Bluey, best written show.
She's right. And my kids will come up to my computer like, do, I'm mommy, and start pushing on the buttons.
Oh, yeah. Josie likes to go, press button. I type your name. And then she just presses random letters and goes, that spells Amami Johnson.
That's cute.
Pretty cute.
All right. So to wrap this up, 3 types of research: gold, green, and closed. Research is more like to be used if it's open. So let's open those floodgates. Let the people read.
Let the people read.
And, maybe we can collectively ask ASHA very nicely
to reduce their administrative costs and provide more access to research.
Yes. I mean, we do pay $250 in dues. This discussion might be archived, but the research continues. See you soon. You've been listening to Speech Talk.
Thank you, everyone, for coming to listen to our Research Book Club. Until next time, keep learning and leading with research.
If you like this episode and you want to give us some love, please rate us on your favorite podcasting app. Leave a review and tell the world, because as podcasters, our love language is in positive affirmations.
If you have a research topic you want us to cover, or you have episode comments, clinical experience you want to share, or just want to send us some love letters, send us an email at hello@speechtalkpod.com.
If you want even more Speech Talk content, check out our website at speechtalkpod.com, where you can find all of our resources we made for you, copies of articles covered, and Eva's blog following these topics and more.
We're your hosts, Eva Johnson and Emily Brady.
Our editor and engineer is Andrew Sims.
Our music is by Omar Ben-Zvi.
Our executive producers are Aaron Corney, Rob Goldman, and Shanti Brook.
To learn about Speech Talk's program disclaimer and ethics policy, verification and licensing terms, and HIPAA release terms, you can go to speechtalkpod.com/disclaimers.
Speech Talk is a proud member of the Human Content Podcast Network.
Human Content.
Breaking news for your home. Way Day. Wayfair's big sale is almost here, and you can score the best deals in home. Like up to 80% off everything home. Yes, you heard that right. 80% off with free shipping on everything. Plus surprise flash deals all Way Day long. We're talking outdoor furniture and essentials, rugs, and more. All at Wayfair, and all up to 80% off during Way Day. Shop Wayfair's Way Day from April 25th through 27th.
Wayfair, every style, every home.
You can't reason with the sun. Trust us, we've tried. This summer, it's time to put that angry ball of fire on mute. Columbia's OmniShade technology is engineered to protect you from the sun's harsh rays that can burn and damage your skin. The sun is relentless, but so is our gear. Level up your summer at Columbia.com to spend more time outside and less time slathering on aloe lotion. You're welcome. Columbia, engineered for whatever.